another one.
And we start off with a good one. So much hate for QA. I was just reading through some posts made by developers. The people in these posts hated, hate is such a strong word, working with QA and prefer to test their own code or have the dev manager do it. How common is this really? I have a hard time believing that everyone who posted wasn't just trolling, but who knows? Some are saying that QA departments have been gotten rid of, are being gotten rid of, and is becoming the trend. Personally, without me testing before things get deployed to testing, a lot more bugs would get through because I catch a lot. Hmm, that is a good question. So, is QA hated by developers? Hmm, well, let's find out now. Let's start the clock. So, I think that QA is hated by developers who are not very good at their job and who are insecure. Why do I say that they're insecure? Well, because if your ego is preventing you from like the drive of the success of the client, the customer, the client, the company, your stakeholders, then that's a you problem. That's a you problem. It is not, it is not the QA problem because if number one, if you write bad code, if you write buggy code, and as soon as you deliver it to QA, and it's like, oh, there's a problem here, there's a problem there, that's a problem there, then that's a you problem, Mr. Developer, or Mrs. Developer, and you need to get better. Now, here on the flip side, I do think that some QAs they do not bring the necessary value and it could be somewhat frustrating. And what is the necessary value? So I think that you become an extraordinary because you can be an ordinary QA, but you become extraordinary when you are starting to contribute to the thought process, to the development ideas, not necessarily to the development code, but to the development idea on how to make the overall project better as well as if you can shift the QA thinking, the QA mindset, they call it shift left, where we say, okay, how can we instead of like looking for bugs and now the developer has to go and rework a bunch of stuff and fix things here and fix things there, how can we be proactive and start preventing bugs instead of only like finding them on the other side and say, oh, you missed this, you missed that. Can we start to work with the developers to bring more value to our teams? And that's what I always advocate. And maybe that's why I've always had such amazing relationships with all of my developers because we are saying, okay, this is what I see. Can we do it this way? Because this is a potential risk. This is a problem that we might run into if we were to go this route. So you have to be active and attentive in these meetings. If you are not joining the meetings from the day that the project is being planned and worked on, and you just only show up at the end to you know poop on all the work that was done, then I could see why you might be hated so much. And the idea of developers testing their own code is absolutely ludicrous. It's crazy because you should never test. Like you definitely need to write. Like developers definitely need to write unit tests, but for them to come up with a testing strategy, like where would they get that from? And that's why QA is absolutely needed. Hated or not hated, QA is absolutely needed. And the dev manager doing testing, show me a dev manager who's actually like, what? Wouldn't they just become the QA manager if the dev manager is doing testing? Absolutely not. We're not doing that. So QA is like whether they hate QA or not, and whether they're trolling or not, nobody cares. Because guess what? when the customer's product isn't working and when their data gets stolen and all of that, the customer is not going to say, "Oh well, the devs hated QA, so I guess it's okay that I'm paying a bunch of money and my application doesn't work." Doesn't work that way. So therefore, who cares how they feel about you? Guess what? Although I have great relationships with my developers, with my like whoever I work with other QAs and stuff like that, at the end of the day, my priority is to make sure that the stakeholders and that my customers are happy and that my company is trending in the right direction. And I definitely like you don't want to be a jerk to who you work with, but if you're finding issues, communicate it well, but you still have to communicate it. And I would rather be unliked and solve the problem than be liked and we do a terrible job and then now to be liked and unemployed is not where I want to be. I'd rather be slightly disliked, although I won't be because, as Mitch will tell you, I have an absolutely amazing.
The only thing I'm addicted to right now is winning.
Exactly. I have an amazing personality that who could not like me, all right? But if you think that you're hated as a QA person, well, be a little bit more like me, maybe, be a little have a personality like mine, but continue to report all of the issues and try to shift left. Try to start working with your developers before they start implementing so that way you can show like bring additional value and start being more preventive, more proactive instead of being reactive and then getting them frustrated because they have to go back and work on something when they're looking to move on to the next things. All right. All right. Hopefully that helps.
If you enjoyed the fascinating information shared in this video and you want more, be sure to hit the subscribe button to Tech Coach Ralph to be notified for new videos.